Hi, welcome back to Cooking with Grandpa. This is Joe. Today we're going to make something special. It's going to be for my birthday coming up. It's called a Blackout cake. Years ago, when I was young, there was a lady that lived upstairs in our apartment, and TVs were scarce, so we finally got a TV, and we used to invite her down to come down and watch TV. And she worked in Manhattan, and she used to stop by this bakery. I think it was called Ebbinger's, and they used to make this here. She knew I love chocolate layer cake. That's my favorite cake. She used to bring this cake home, and now I realize it's called a Blackout cake, and it was made with a pudding filling. And you know what I feel about puddings. Just take a look at our homemade pudding that we made, chocolate pudding. I love pudding. And this icing is made with a pudding type icing. So we're going to get started now, but there's a couple of things you got to prep before we make this sponge cake. We have to get our flour, and we have to get our chocolate mixture all mixed up. So I'm going to take this here milk. I heated it up a little. All the ingredients that we're going to have in this here are going to be listed at the bottom. I suggest you always get a scale when you're baking, but if you don't, I'm going to list it in volume 2. So we're going to mix this all to get this started. We have this, and we have to mix a little sugar into this. Into this mixture. And then we're going to put this on the heat a little bit. Double boiler. And put our chocolate in there. And we want this all to mix up together. Okay, now we're going to leave this go until it melts up. We want it to get to about, melting. And then we're going to get, before we put it in our mixture, we're going to have to heat it up to about 160 degrees. We'll leave this go now. The other part of preparation that I'm doing here is over here. We have our flour, which also I weighed, and our baking powder. And I've already dusted and greased this pan. And I'm going to put a lining in of parchment paper. We have to get that ready. Now I got my cake flour and my baking powder weighed out in here. And I'm going to sift this about 4 times. And we'll get back to you when that's all done. You want this mixed up pretty good. Okay, so this is the first time. Just went through once. Put it back in. Do it again, and then we'll get back to you when it's over, and I've done it about 4 times. Okay, I just sifted all my flour and baking powder, and I'm using this pan because I want to try and make a nice layer that I can cut into 3 separate layers. So I'm going to cook it all in one time. And the next part of this procedure, this is called the hot sponge method. I'm going to use, I have all our eggs and everything. All the ingredients will be in the description below. We want to try to get this, and I got my sugar here and my vanilla. And we're going to try to get this up to about 100 degrees before we start mixing it. It makes it a little easier to mix. It melts the sugar, and we'll see how that works out. I got it in kind of like a double boiler here. You don't want to cook the eggs, so just be careful that you don't go too far high with this. Let's see, my water is it's about 93. That's good. We're going to get that up to about 100 degrees, and I'll get back to you with that. And I'll show you how that looks. Okay, getting close to where we want. We want this about 100 degrees. This makes it a lot easier for mixing. Doesn't take as long, and it melts that sugar in. We're doing okay. That's about where we want to be. You got to keep stirring so you don't want to cook the eggs. I'm going to shut this off. And you know, this is a sponge, hot sponge method. Not too many people like to make a sponge cake from scratch, because there's a couple of things you got to pay attention to. But if you pay attention to the details, it's no big deal. So you put this on your mixer, put your whip in, and I'm going to time this to show you how long it takes for this to get up to a nice yellow, kind of firm, close to firm consistency. I'm going to do it on about 6 speed, number 6. Don't do it too fast because you don't want big air bubbles, you want small air bubbles. And I'll start this timer here. Okay, I'll get back to you in a little while with this, see how long it takes. Okay, as this is whipping up, I boiled about 2 ounces of water. I wanted it boiling, and this is what they call a hot sponge. You add this as it's mixing, a little at a time. So we've gone about 3 minutes, and I'm going to start adding this a little at a time. Don't add it all in one time. Just get it in there, a little at a time. We got to get this to yellow firm. Okay, we've done this about 14 minutes. It took to get it to this point. I want to show you where it is. It's about nice and light. And I usually test it like this. I put this in here and see if it holds the crease. It holds the crease a few seconds. That's good. See, it's kind of good enough. Now what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to change this to my paddle. You can mix this in by hand if you want, but I'm going to use the paddle, and I'm going to try and mix it in slowly, the flour. You don't want to destroy the foam now. So I'm going to put it in the paddle, and I'm going to put it on stir speed. Nice and easy. Try and get this in there. You don't have to mix this in too much because the next procedure we're going to be putting the chocolate in this, and that's going to mix it up a little more too. Chocolate to about 160 degrees, and we're going to slowly add this in here. Okay, we don't want to go crazy with this. We don't want to destroy it. Kind of mix this up. Make sure there's not too much white there showing. Place it in our pan. Bowl scraper. I don't have it handy right now. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're gonna got it in our pan. We're gonna put it in our oven at 400 degrees. For about 20 minutes. We'll check it in about 20 minutes, see how it looks. Okay, pretty sure it was kind of done. It's very hard to give time with these things. You're gonna have to play it by ear. You take it out, check it with your toothpick or whatever. Comes out clean. See, it's coming out clean. Now this is a big. Now what I made here, the quantity I'm giving you in the description, is enough to make a nice 2-inch layer, or a sheet pan like this, 3/4 thick. If you put it in a sheet pan, and then you can make a log cake out of it. We're gonna let this rest for another 10 minutes now, and then we're gonna dump it out of the what do you call it, pan. Okay, we got our cake rested for about 10 minutes. We're gonna go in and I'm gonna dump it out of here. You don't want to leave it in too long because it keeps cooking. Just make sure she's free. And my sheet pan here. This. Take our paper off, and then I'm gonna put these 2 pieces of wood here because I want it to cool down, but I want to keep the moisture in the cake. Oh, Jesus. Missed my wood. That's hot. There you go. Keep the moisture in, and we'll let that rest, and we'll be done with that. Okay, we're kind of done. And as you can see, we got a nice layer cake here, sponge layer, and I'm going to cut this into 3 different layers. I'm going to freeze it first and let it age a little because they taste better when they age. And then I'm going to cut this into 3 layers, and then we're going to make our icing. Okay, now we're ready to layer our blackout cake. I had it frozen for a couple of days. It's defrosted now a little bit. I still got it real cold because when you cut it, it's easier to cut it while it's cold. We're gonna coat it with our icing. This is a chocolate pudding icing, and I don't want to make show you the whole procedure another video, but it's the same type of chocolate pudding icing that we have in our chocolate pudding video. So the procedure is the same. The only thing is you're not using milk, and it's a water base because this is an icing and it's a little more sweeter, but the procedure is the same. The procedure will be in the description, and also all the ingredients for the icing. So we'll get to that later. Okay, this is the hard part right now. I'm not the greatest at decorating, but they tell you to put a notch in the cake over here so you can put all your layers back together. I already marked this off with three half-inch layers, and I have this layer on top that I'm going to clear off. We're going to crumble that up and use that for dusting the cake. Now you start off like this with a nice long blade, and just keep circling that thing around, and don't move the blade up or down. Keep it kind of straight and keep going back and forth until you get through the cake. Keep turning the turntable. Okay, we're through with one. We'll put that over here now. That's going to be our spare piece. Now we're going to go down to our next one and find it here. And you do the same thing. Back and forth. Turn a little. Back and forth. There's another layer. Now we're going to get this one in there. Second layer. Try to keep them in order, and this is our bottom layer. Okay, I'm going to clean up a little and we'll get back to you. Okay, the next move we have to make is we have our bottom layer here. I made a simple syrup and I put some vanilla into it, and I'm making a simple syrup that I'm going to coat. I warmed it up a little so it spreads a little easier. But you coat the sponges pretty good. Don't soak them crazy, but get them soaked. Okay, how I get my layers kind of even, I made a half-inch cake layer, and I'm going to make 3/8 tube on this here, and I'm going to start laying it in while I'm turning this. To get kind of an even layer, 3/8 of an inch thick. You can put it on with a spatula if you like, but I try to get it more precise with this. Keep turning the table, don't use your arm like I'm doing right now. Like I said, I wish my granddaughter was here to help me with this. She's much better than me. But I'll have to survive it. Okay, so we got it kind of even. I'm just going to kind of get it out there. Smooth it off a little. And it's a little bit like trying to get a good layer there. Now we're going to take our second layer. This one I cut a little too thick, but I'm going to soak this one on both sides. Okay, I lined my notches up. I soaked that one side. Now I'm soaking this side of it. Okay, we got the top done. Most done. We'll finish that off in a little while. Put something on the sides here. Hope we have enough icing. Okay, we're all done. Here's my cake for my birthday. Like I told you at the beginning of the video, my favorite cake from my neighbor upstairs. A Blackout cake, an Evans's Blackout cake. I don't know if it's the way they made it, but we tried our best. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you soon. I'm going to eat this with my grandchildren for my birthday.